Hi guys, and welcome back to Maths with Miss S. This is part 5 on equations, and in this video we'll have a quick look at two special forms of a quadratic equation and how we can solve them. Now, when I'm saying special, I mean different from what you will find in the normal maths book. So ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 is usually how a quadratic equation is defined in the maths book, but anything that has a squared in it as its highest power is a quadratic. So you might sometimes see a quadratic equation that does not have that x term in the middle. Now that means we just have, for example, x squared minus 25 is equal to 0. These are actually the easiest form of a quadratic, because technically you could just bring over the 25 and then calculate the square root of that. Problem is, some students might forget that there are two solutions when you're calculating a square root. It's always the positive and negative value of the square root of 25. So it would be plus and minus 5 you get there. In order to not forget that, if you see it as the difference of two squares and write it into those two brackets with a plus and a minus, you will get those two solutions. So this is to play it safe basically, and you find both solutions by putting either of the brackets equal to 0 and calculating the actual number value. So either bring over the number value and put a plus and minus in front of your square root, or use the difference of two squares. Now, if you're missing the constant, that means you have the x squared and you have an x value, which then means that we can easily factorize x out of the way. Sometimes it's also possible to factorize a number value with it. So in this case, we actually can factorize x and 3, and what's left then is x and minus 5 in a bracket. We then put both of these parts equal to 0, so 3x is equal to 0 means that x has to be 0, and if x minus 5 is equal to 0, then x would have to be 5. Whenever you are not having a constant in your quadratic, you will always get x is equal to 0 as one of your solutions. So that will always happen because you were able to factorize x out of the way, and therefore in that product x is one of those possible zeros.